I decided to drive home last Christmas after our work Christmas party. I know that this was in retrospect a terrible idea as I was really drunk and it was snowing quite heavily. I was reaching for another can of beer when I heard a thud and knew immediately that I was in trouble. I quickly put on my hazards and got out of the car to find out what I had hit. I was staggering about searching due to how slippery the ground was and my vision was blurry due to the alcohol. I spotted something red in the distance and slowly made my way over. There was so much blood that my feet were instantly soaked through. I gazed down at the body and recognized him straight away. His face adorned everything every Christmas and he brought happiness to billions. I had just destroyed the hopes and dreams of every child on the planet. I considered disposing of the body and moving on with my life for a few seconds. My thoughts were disrupted by a high-pitched screaming noise from behind me. I spun around to find dozens of hideous creatures dressed in green. They advanced on me brandishing candy canes sharpened into spears. They forced me onto the sleigh and we then flew off straight to Santa's lair. I was then dragged off the sleigh and brought into a building filled with thousands of these creatures. They all glared at me before tying me to a wall. The last year of my life has been absolute torture. The elves are sadistic creatures who force me to eat insane amounts of food every day. They are obviously intending to fatten me up to replace Santa. I was never a person who was good at growing facial hair and I could see the annoyance on their faces when it wasn't growing fast enough. I was forced to sit through the agony as they sewed real hair onto my face. They have also been training me to go down chimneys. There is some magic involved in it. The only problem is that my body has to compress into tiny shapes to fit down them. The magic doesn't help with the pain and I feel every bone-crushing squeeze as I am forced down each time. I am going to be coming down your chimneys to give you and your families presents. If you see me then for the love of God help me. Being on vacation, I had obviously managed to get the best hotel I could find, let alone afford. The room had a comfy bed, a spacious closet, and even a functioning TV, which was especially rare for a hotel. They didn't give many rules for my stay. Just don't break anything in the room, don't draw on the ceiling, and respect the other few guests I saw there. It was all pretty common courtesy, and especially was locking your door, right? The lock was surprisingly tough to budge. It took me at least 10 seconds each time to undo the chain, unlock the top lock, and actually open the door. It made it tempting to keep it unlocked, but for some reason, I had a feeling it was better secured. So, although annoyed, I decided to keep every lock while I was in the room. One night while I was in the room, I thought I heard tapping at the window. I ignored it for a while. I was on, like, the 15th floor, so what could it possibly be? But the tapping got louder and faster after some time, so I finally went to the curtain and peeped out. All I saw was a tree branch, tapping against the window in the wind. The next night, I heard noises outside. The door was locked, so whatever it was didn't bother me. But then I kept hearing the noise, grunting coming from something human sounding, the cracking of wood, and small bangs. The door was locked, but my curiosity wasn't, so I looked outside the peephole in slight fear. All I saw was a man, still dressed in his pajamas, trying to grab snacks outside of a vending machine, craning their neck to look up. It was confusing. Why would I need to lock the door? It just gave more of an inconvenience than anything, didn't it? It was more tempting to leave it unlocked, or even just leave the chain. The lock proved as just an annoyance. But I left the door locked anyway, just in case. It happened late at night. I heard a crack. And another. And another. I looked up from my peaceful sleep to find the source of the noise. I assumed the noise would have been from somewhere outside the room. But it wasn't. It was inside, with me. The ceiling cracked open, and the most hideous thing I've ever seen practically poured into the room. As it screeched, extending tendrils to grab me, I jumped out of my bed and ran to the door. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. The being stood tall behind me and started to charge in my direction, opening a gaping maw. Screaming, I scrambled to unlock the door and run, far away, and escape certain death. The lock would have taken me 10 seconds to unlock. It only needed 4 to reach me. The schedule is always the same. At 5 p.m. we eat dinner. At 6 we put on our pajamas and watch It's a Wonderful Life. Then at 8:30 Mom makes us take sleeping pills and we have to go to bed because we can't be awake when Santa comes. It's bullshit. None of my friends' families do crazy shit like this. I'm 16 this year and I stopped believing in Santa years ago. So earlier tonight, when she was handing out our pills, I hid mine under my tongue and spat it out in the toilet. I pretended to be extra sleepy and went to bed. Only I wasn't tired. I was wide awake and ready to stay up to figure out what my parents do on Christmas Eve that they don't want us to know about. But now I'm curled up under my covers, gagging while chewing on 3 of those little white pills and trying to get them down. I need them to work fast. I have to get to sleep right away. My whole family is asleep and I should have been too. I don't know what the hell those red spidery things are on the Pearson's roof, but the ones that went down to the Smith house pulled their daughter out the chimney. People aren't supposed to go up chimneys. I'll never forget the way she screamed. I'm starting to get a little drowsy, but I can hear the weird clicking sound they make on the roof. It sounds like hooves, but those things aren't reindeer. I think they only take people that are awake. Now I know why my parents wanted us asleep. Charlotte stared at the beautiful illustration of Mommy Fox running through the wheat fields with a burning tail. Her wide mouth was open in a howl of pain, and her tail was huge, burning in bright golden orange flames. The evil farmer standing behind her looked horrified. He had just realized what he had done and what was going to happen to his precious fields. The illustration on the next page was much nicer. Mommy Fox's tail had stopped burning, although it was now black and smoky, and a kind wise white old man was putting some medicine on it. "Charlotte, it's Din Din," Mommy called her. Charlotte dropped her beloved book of animal tales and went to have dinner, images of hot food and fiery tales and golden burning wheat fields in her eyes. Mommy had red gold hair, just like Mommy Fox and her baby foxes, but Charlotte's hair was pale yellow. Mommy said Charlotte's hair would grow bright red later too. Charlotte hoped so. Only Mommy and Charlotte were eating, although the kind old white man was there standing in the kitchen. He smiled at Charlotte as she ate, but Charlotte wished he would go away and leave her and Mommy alone. At least he was better than Daddy, quieter, and he didn't make Mommy cry like Daddy did. In fact, Charlotte wasn't sure if Mommy could see the kind old man, even though he protected Mommy and Charlotte. The old man took out a box of matches from the high place Charlotte couldn't reach, shook it, looked at Charlotte again, and bent down and put it on the kitchen floor, pushing it under the cupboards. He stood up and smiled kindly at Charlotte. Charlotte nodded happily. She had been worried at first their whole house would burn down, just like the evil farmer's wheat fields, if she used the matches like the old man told her to. But the old man explained gently that he would take care of her and Mommy and their house, and make sure they were safe. Charlotte trusted him. After all, he had healed Mommy Fox. So that night, after Mommy and Daddy were silent, Charlotte crept to the kitchen, picked up the matches from under the kitchen cupboard where the kind old man had hidden them for her, and waited. Daddy locked their bedroom door, and she couldn't go in just yet. Finally it opened, and Mommy walked out quietly. Charlotte slipped into their room and hid under the bed. Mommy came back to bed. Charlotte waited again. Eventually, Mommy was still again, and she crawled out from under the bed, struck a match and put it in Daddy's hair. Then another one, just to make sure, and another one. The kind old man took her hand with one hand, and sleepy Mommy's arm with his other hand. By the time Daddy woke up and started screaming, Charlotte and Mommy were far away.